Okay, so I bought this old Insley Excavator. It's H1000. Been kind of keep my eye out for one. I've been wanting one on the farm here. I got a bunch of trees I need to remove, and I also wanted to do some digging on our pond. And this thing has a 5-foot ditch bucket and the trenching bucket that you see me pick up off the trailer. It's been sitting for quite a few years. I bought it from a guy who's only about 3 or 4 miles from me. I've known he's had it for a while. I think he said he owned it close to 30 years. He run it maybe a year or two ago. He started up, moved a little closer to his shop, was going to do some work on it, but he's getting up in age and he thought, I really don't need to do any work on this thing. I'm just going to get rid of it. I got it for a little more than scrap price, and it runs real good. It's got a 471 Detroit in it. Before I could even run it, I had to put 2 batteries in it, and I bought a 55-gallon drum of hydraulic oil. It was low enough from all the slow leaks that it would have starved the pump, and I didn't want to risk that. So once I put the batteries in, got the oil filled up, I hit the key and the starter wouldn't engage. So the starter's back over here. I ended up pulling the starter out. The solenoid wasn't making contact in there. It was just kind of carboned up. A little bit of water got in there, so I resealed the solenoid, put that back together, put it on. A quick shot of ether, the engine took right off, so I was real happy about that. And I knew one of the leaks was somewhere in these hydraulic valves. There was a slow drip, the tracks were covered with oil, everything was wet in here, but I'll deal with that when I get it home. Well, when we were over at his house, we went to move it out to the road for a lowboy to come and pick it up, and had a catastrophic oil leak, which was this end plate right here. You really can't access it from the inside unless you want to gut all this stuff. So I cut a hole in here. For some reason, these 2 bolts were actually broke off. The heads were snapped off. I don't know if they were over torqued at one time. And what it did, there was enough pressure in there just to move that little cap a little bit. It blew that O-ring out of there. So that was a quick fix. Had a leak coming out of down here at the hydraulic drive. It's got side covers that go on here, and I don't think anybody's ever taken them off. They were just solid, packed full of mud and dirt, and it holds water. I think this is a low pressure return line coming out of that motor, and it rusted through, so I've got it spliced with a piece of radiator hose, piece of 1/2-inch hose and some hose clamps. I figured that would hold it, hopefully until we get it home. Then I started up again. We go to move it. A day or 2 later, had a leak over on this side. Took this cover off, and it looks even worse in here, but luckily it was just this hydraulic hose here. Replace that. All of these are going to be replaced. These are steel lines by Insley, which you can't get stuff like that anymore, but I think I can have these made just out of hydraulic hoses and get those routed in there. Now Insley puts a clutch on the back of their engine before the transmission for the pumps, and you can disengage that clutch so you can start the engine up without a hydraulic load on it, warm your engine up. And I'm looking over this thing, and there's supposed to be a hand lever in here to engage and disengage it. I couldn't find it. Did some digging around. The cross shaft is there that hooks to the throwout bearing, but there's no handle. So I don't know if somebody had an issue, removed it. It probably hasn't been on there for years. I think once it's engaged, it's working. I'm just going to leave that alone. It needs a full service, filters, oil, and you probably can't see it from here. That muffler is completely rotted out. It's not even hooked to the exhaust pipe coming out of the manifold. So that'll have to be replaced. And one thing about these Insleys, the operator's cab is on the opposite side of everybody else's. I don't know what the thinking was. Really doesn't make any difference to me because I'm not an operator. I can learn to do either side. That's really no big deal. But their controls are a little different, and they did change them later on. But this is one of the earlier ones. Let's take a look up in here. Okay, and you'll probably notice that there's 4 foot pedals here. On these 2 outside pedals, the left one is for the bucket curl, the right one is for the stick on the boom. The 2 center ones are travel. The left handle here is for the swing. It's left and right. And the right handle is for the boom control, up and down. In later years, Insley did away with the 2 outside pedals for the stick and the bucket curl and put them into the handles here so they would pivot left and right, forward and back. So it's about a week before Christmas. I was glad to get this thing home before cold weather set in. I don't think I'll do much to it till next spring and it warms up, and I'll have plenty to keep me busy then. Thanks for watching.